As I was saying before, he's a professor at the School of Architecture in Notre Dame. And he's worked all over the Mediterranean shoreline in very interesting projects. Thank you very much. I'm going to speak English.
There is such wisdom and knowledge, what we heard from the craftsmen, where I hardly can say more than what we heard. We could stand and continue discussing about how much we have lost and how we can try to gain back what is lost. One topic that has come out in this day, between yesterday and today, is the fact that we have codes that we have to follow, and these codes contribute in a fundamental way to this loss. At the same time, we have a building industry which, in all the ways, makes that it's impossible to continue to use the same materials and technologies of the past. So the building industry wants new products, wants to have continuously something that is new, is innovation, is technological, is extraordinary positive for the building sector, and at the end, we lose. So there is something we have to do. I mean, this is so clear that we are losing more and more. What we can do? Of course, the wisdom and the knowledge of the craftsmen is fundamental. What can do the architects? First of all, learn. There is a lot of learn. And all the work I have been doing in my life was extraordinary because I have been working with heritage, and conservation is a huge opportunity to look in detail, because when we restore a building, we go into the fabric, we demolish, we change, but what we understood after the 1980s is that a good restoration is the one which is similar to the original. And so the belief that there was that with the modernists and the modern materials that could give a substantial contribution to the preservation of heritage resulted to be false. And so we started to go back and look at the vaults. Sergi and Gerard Bastidas, in their work, they look at the traditional heritage. They try to interpret that. We look at this. We have the tools as architects. We use drawing as architects to interpret. We look because drawing helps in understanding. But at the same time, we need to have of course, the knowledge of the craftsmen, which is intangible. What we heard today, you hardly can find it in a publication for the simple reason that, as we heard, it changes from place to place, from condition to condition. So it's summing up many, many things that we cannot summarize in an encyclopedic work. So human beings are creative. They have been always creative. Culture is a creative process. So we build, we add, through our creativity, new things. But we also destroy. And one thing that we have learned from the Second World War is exactly how much we can destroy is something that war is anthropogenic, is human beings that created and human beings that destroy. Now, after the Second World War, of course, there was an incredible reaction to this destruction, and we were all, the world reacted in a way to make a better world, a peaceful world, and there was this moment that there was this incredible belief in the progress, in the development, when the new technologies came through, and we still are living this extraordinary period. But the way we have approached our relationship with nature has broken a balance that was very clear. So what we are facing today is climate change. Of course, it's a topic everybody talks about that. And it looks like it's the topic of the period because it's, let's say, it's fancy to talk about this. Actually, it's not fancy at all. is a true problem. It's something that we have to face. And the consequences are very clear. You suppose you know what is about this overshoot day. Is the day when, of course, we are using resources, and these resources are from our planet. So in this moment, we are using more than what our planet can give us. So we Italians, we need 2.5 Italys to have a balance between the resources we use and what our country is offering. So from 1970 to today, this is the pandemic year. Of course, there was less use of resources. And here we stand. I mean, this is Spain, May 25. You have used all the resources your country can give. So you are exploiting other countries. You are exploiting more than you should do. So there is a need to face this problem. Carla Elefante made a very good statement. The greenest building is one that is already built. So we are now investing to find green buildings, and we build buildings which are using materials that have a very high carbon footprint: concrete, steel, glass. Traditional architecture was using local materials, had an identity because it was local, and particularly there was a concept, as we will see, of life cycle. It was also a matter of using materials that were sourced locally, and you didn't have transportation. I mean, it's amazing to see how you build a museum in LA and you put travertine that is taken from Rome. Well, of course, I cannot say I'm a specialist in Roman architecture. I know very well how Romans express their power through exploiting quarries throughout their countries in their dominion. But, okay, but this was, when you look in detail and you look at a building like the Baths of Caracalla, the Baths of Caracalla are made with materials that are sourced within a distance of maximum half a kilometer. Then, of course, you have the marbles, but the marbles as the part that shows power. Okay. I have been working 10 years in Cyprus for UNDP, conservation projects, and of course, and my first time in Cyprus was in 1990. I went there, and at that time, they were in a period where they were expanding and there were new architecture. I arrived there and said, well, you have this incredibly hot weather and you build these houses which are made with glass, concrete, and very big ones. And you have this tradition of mud brick construction. Why don't you use that? Of course, because there is this belief that you live better if you do something modern, not these old-fashioned things. And so I have been working the city of Nicosia, the center, is extraordinary with this construction, and all around is a mess of concrete. And now with the crisis they had in 2012, 2011, it was a disaster because, of course, suddenly they realized that their houses were not sustainable. And, well, traditional construction has, as we said, local materials. So everything is sourced locally. The knowledge is gained through experience. So what happens with our architects, young generations, is that, of course, they study something, and then when they start to work, this technology, these materials have already changed. Where is the experience that you can give? How we are using the experience that was gained? There is nearly impossible. And today you have the masons, as Sergi was saying that are unskilled because they are not using a knowledge that has been gained through years of experience. And building techniques, traditional building techniques, make possible reuse, and we will see that. And of course, they are resilient, and the typologies are shaped to the local conditions. And concrete is the most destructive material on earth. It's the 40% of the carbon footprint nowadays is based on the concrete industry. And concrete is everything. I mean, people do floors in concrete. They would like to water the plants with concrete everywhere. I mean, and of course, the building industry of concrete is reacting and says, we will become sustainable. They say that, and they are trying to do it. This is a way to do sustainable. What they do a mess, and they try to store the production of CO2 in underground. Well, to continue to use to concrete. At the same time, they are using nanotechnologies, but they say, well, yes, this is more sustainable, but it's more expensive. So instead of reducing the cost, we will be increasing the cost. And then the other thing, this is a huge problem, because we have to think about that the problem is not the houses that are built by wealthy persons, but the problem is the simple person who cannot afford to change a window when it is weathered by time because it's a timber window. And so they go to the market and say, I would like to repair this window. And what they say, come on, why do you want to repair this window? It's much better if you place a PVC window because you have several advantages: energy savings, enhanced appearance, noise reduction, maintenance ease. Well, this window will last 10 years, maximum 15, maybe 20. The other one was from, I have in my house, I live in Rome, 1930s, are perfect with some maintenance. They are now with, of course, with the recovery plan, they are obliging everyone to succeed to get to the standards of energy saving, to throw away the windows that are beautiful, are incredibly beautiful, to have PVC. I mean, there is something wrong here. But the problem, again, is the people, the humble people who have to do their own houses, and they go to the market and they find that the block cement is less expensive than any other material. And maybe you can use Adobe construction, but of course, who is doing Adobe nowadays? No one. And this was, Pise and Adobe was so widespread in Europe and everywhere. We have to think about all these issues. It's a matter that you are in the Greek islands, they do the beautiful Aegean-style houses, and they are made with concrete. It's only the shape, the exterior shape. Where is the consistency in architecture, which is not only the exterior shape of a building, the beautiful building which matches with the landscape. This is the landscape. This landscape is made of villages and not of the sprawl of little houses throughout all the islands. And there is another question that came out also from the talk of Sergi Gerard Bastidas, is the fact that traditional masonries were using bonding materials which were weak. Today, our understanding is that all technology has to use strong bonds. All is the idea of concrete, is the idea of steel, strong connections to do a frame that resists in a different way from a traditional material. But as in Mallorca, in Greece, in Italy, and everywhere, they were using earthen mortars, that is with very few amount of lime mortar, and they were incredibly resilient to time and to earthquakes. And a building like this fails without maintenance, of course. But all the material can be reused in another construction. But in this same place, close by, they are building a new house for the summer, for the clients, and they import the stone from, we are in the Aegean Islands, they import the stone from Pelion, from mainland Greece, because the market says that you have to do that. And you cannot use this material. So there is, and then there is things there. So this is what a normal person who has to do some renovation asks to any engineer, and what will be the result. This is the commonest part. The coherent and high-quality architecture is the exception. This is what you find. And we should show more of this to understand what we have to fight and where we have to go. So for this reason, I think that the past has to teach a lot, and we have to work to gain back what we have lost. Here is something that a colleague of mine posted a few months ago. He was in Turkey, and this boy, Kalam, he had a problem. He wanted to use the old technique in the renovation of this house, and the problem is that Turkey has a building industry which is made out of concrete, and they are expanding. They have lost people who know where to source the clay to do this wall, which is local. And of course, he wants to do that, and he doesn't know how to do, because there is not anymore this person in the village who knew exactly which was the good soil and which was the bad soil. Intangible heritage. So when I spent 5 months on campus in South Bend, in Indiana, and was for me the first time spending such a long period there. And of course, I started immediately to look at heritage, because I was there. And of course, there is heritage also in the United States. And this heritage, this is one of the houses in late 19th century in South Bend. It's a very interesting house, because it's made exactly with the knowledge that people before the introduction of the industrial process in the United States were building their houses, the good houses, of course. This is a stone house, so it's an important house. They built it this way. So what we do, how we gain back, what architects can do to gain back this knowledge? Drawing. So this drawing is spending a few hours in front of a wall and drawing the wall and trying to understand things. So drawing, you understand the contact points between the stones. So what you are doing actually is that by drawing, you are reproducing the process of the mason who is building the wall. So you understand how he chooses the stones, how he prefers to have contact points to transfer the weight, so that the mortar is not so good, so he knows that contact points are fundamental. Okay, and so you go through all these details, so I go very, very quick, and then you understand how are made the floors, and then the exterior walls, how they bond with the structure. So exactly, through the drawing, you reproduce the building process. And well, this is another example, how you choose and select the materials. You understand where there is the brick, because it's, of course, in the openings to reinforce, and the systems for creating all the interior. This South Bend is very cold in the winter time, so the lats are important for isolating for the stone, because, of course, all the cold weather passes through that, and so on and so forth. I don't go too much in detail. this is something I graduated with Paolo Marconi. It was the moment that we started to look at this. Everything already existed, but no one was looking at it. And so we started to look at this. I have been working mainly in archaeology, but at a certain point also with medieval buildings. I have been studying extraordinary buildings like this Almoravid Cuba and understanding the use of tile construction. This might be one of the first examples, and you understand how the process goes, why the Almoravids, they decided to use a technology that was coming from the East and not taking advantage of building techniques that were existing in the Andalus at the time. And so now we understood at Notre Dame that we needed to do a master in preservation that was matching the past with the future. That is to say, to take I'm done, and to take the advantage of the past to know how to build the future. It's about sustainability and resilience. So our students, they do drawings on site, they do bricks in Orvieto, and they are excited when they do that. They want that, our students. And then, of course, because conservation is the most wonderful place to learn about. So this is in Cyprus, again, a restoration project where we made. It was fantastic to see how they were working, that the Masons know that. And this is Wessam Al-Sali, who, that made this extraordinary experience in Syria that Salva Gomez explained yesterday about these bricks made with the debris from the destruction in Syria. And this is how this knowledge can be used through the capacity of Salva Gomez to make something new architecture, using the past for the future. Thank you.